Evidence that Harry is at war with absolutely everyone, not only individual members of his family and of course the boss of his charity. He's now taking on the government, saying they should have never discontinued his police protection. And I just think what a legacy he's creating for himself as well. And I think the whinging and the moaning and those front page headlines really encapsulate how I think people feel about Harry at the moment too. And also let's address this conspiracy theory that he's introduced, a rather robust one, saying that the privileges were stripped from him and Meghan in order to force them to stay in the UK as working royals. Now, if that's true, that would have been something that would have been presumably signed off by the Queen when they had the Megxit summit in Sandringham in 2020. This is before, of course, Harry and Meghan actually left the country. Now, I find it, if those threats were made very transparent to the royal family at the time, especially the Al-Qaeda threat, he's basically saying they were playing mind games in order to keep him in the country. I just find it absolutely staggering that the Queen would sign off on something like this, and also Charles and William, who of course were at that summit too, despite the bad blood clearly that was between them at the time.
Prince Harry is facing what some insiders are calling the most precarious moment of his post-royal life. In a stunning development, his private security team in the United States was reportedly yanked without warning, leaving him abruptly exposed in a country far from the institutional safety of the monarchy. The timing has raised more than a few eyebrows. Just days before this happened, Harry lost a closely watched legal battle in the UK against RAVEC, the Royal and VIP Executive Committee, which had denied his request to have British state-funded protection reinstated.
Now to Prince Harry. Back in a London court again this morning as he fights a ruling that means his police protection has changed when he visits his homeland. Maggie Ruli's in London. Good morning, Maggie.
Hey, George, good morning. Yeah, Prince Harry is in court right now for what is day 2 in his case against the British government and what is essentially his last chance to change their stance on his security status. Now, since Harry is no longer a working royal, the government here decided to change his security protection, offering him that state-funded police protection on a case-by-case basis only. It's something Harry's lawyers argue is simply not enough. Now, guys, Harry could hire his own security team when he visits, but under UK law, they cannot carry firearms. Only police here can carry guns. In the past, Harry proposed to personally pay for this police protection, but a judge struck down that when a government lawyer argued that police are not, quote, bodyguards for the wealthy. Now, Harry says he is fighting this fight for his kids, and that right now he feels that it's unsafe to bring them here to the UK under the current security setup. And as of today, Archie and Lilibet, they haven't visited the UK or, guys, seen their grandfather, King Charles. Remember, he was diagnosed with cancer last year, since 2022.
At first glance, these may seem like unrelated events. But within royal and security circles, speculation is rampant that they're connected, and that someone close to him might be pulling the strings. That someone, sources claim, could be none other than Meghan Markle. The Duchess of Sussex is now facing quiet but growing scrutiny. Some royal watchers and former aides believe she may have played a behind-the-scenes role in the decision to cut off Harry's American security, either directly or by creating circumstances that made it inevitable. If true, this wouldn't just be a personal betrayal. It would represent a dangerous shift in how power and control are exercised within the Sussex household.
Any part of this that appears substantive? Obviously, he lost at first instance. This is an appeal. But is there any good that can really come of this for him?
Well, even if he does technically win the appeal, there's nothing to say that the security privileges will be reinstated, and what he will be left with is a very bad taste in the mouth of obviously the Met Police and the Home Office as well, who will be reluctant to engage with him on any level, I think, after this, given he's really taken them on. I mean, to actually sue the Met Police and the government, I think, is a crazy decision. Very unlikely to win in a way, but he's done it as a point of principle. In fact, he described this court case, while harrowing and emotionally draining for him to attend and actually hear the evidence, especially the secret evidence, which he says vindicated his position, to actually keep pursuing in this way.
To understand how things got here, we need to go back to the beginning. January 2020. That's when Harry and Meghan shocked the world by announcing they were stepping back from their royal duties. They painted the move as a quest for freedom, privacy, and financial independence, far away from the relentless scrutiny of the British press and the constraints of the royal institution. The destination? Sunny California. At the time, the couple's supporters applauded the decision as bold and modern, but critics warned that such a drastic departure from royal protocol would come at a steep cost, both personal and institutional. And they may have been right.
Sorry, apologies in advance. Morning, Harry. Are you going to visit your dad, Harry? Harry, are you going to go and see the king? Are you going to speak to your dad?
In the years that followed, Harry and Meghan didn't just quietly fade into a private life. Instead, they launched a public campaign that seemed to chip away at the very family they left behind. Bombshell interviews, pointed documentaries, and lucrative media deals painted the royals as out of touch at best and abusive at worst. Meanwhile, Meghan carefully curated her image as a strong, misunderstood outsider who had been mistreated by the press and the palace alike. But behind that narrative, many now suspect a more calculated strategy was playing out. One that systematically weakened Harry's connections to the UK, the monarchy, and even his core support system. The question echoing through royal circles now is, was the goal really independence or influence? Earlier this year, Harry's final attempt to regain taxpayer-funded security in the UK came crashing down. The court ruled firmly against him, siding with RAVEC's position that only working royals are entitled to such protections. In other words, Harry's decision to step away from his duties also meant stepping away from certain entitlements, including high-level security detail while on British soil. The ruling wasn't just a legal blow, it was a symbolic one. It served as a reminder that titles and bloodlines don't override national policy. Even a prince, once removed from his official role, becomes an ordinary citizen in the eyes of the law. But what came next was even more shocking. Not long after the judgment, whispers began to surface that Harry's American security team had been terminated without advance notice. This wasn't just a hiccup. It was a complete dismantling of the infrastructure that had kept him safe in a country where high-profile figures are often targeted. The Sussexes had reportedly been funding this protection through private channels, some linked to their entertainment deals and business partnerships. But those partnerships have hit a rough patch. Some insiders now believe the timing wasn't coincidental at all. According to a former royal aide quoted anonymously in British media, this entire unraveling feels choreographed. That's a strong word, one that implies intent, planning, and purpose. And at the centre of this theory is Meghan Markle. The claim is simple yet chilling. Meghan now controls nearly every aspect of Harry's life. The finances, the media narrative, the decision-making, and perhaps even the people tasked with keeping him alive.
Sorry, apologies in advance. Morning, Harry. Are you going to visit your dad, Harry?
By that logic, the sudden loss of his American security detail wasn't just an unfortunate side effect of financial strain or legal setbacks. It was leverage, a way to tighten control. If the RAVEC ruling was the door slamming shut on UK protection, this was the locking of the bolt in California. The timing is too sharp, critics argue. Why else would security vanish precisely when Harry became more vulnerable than ever? To be clear, there's no public proof of Meghan's direct involvement, but patterns tell stories. And Meghan has long been known for decisive, some say ruthless, personal moves. Cutting off her father, distancing herself from her half-siblings, and allegedly pushing Harry to sever ties with close royal confidants. If control is the theme, then this may just be the next chapter. The couple once touted their move to America as a step toward financial independence, but that promise is cracking under pressure. Their highly publicized multi-million-dollar deals with streaming giants like Netflix and Spotify were initially seen as proof that Harry and Meghan could carve out a profitable brand on their own terms. Yet reality has hit hard. In 2023, Spotify severed ties with the Sussexes, reportedly frustrated with the output and calling the partnership unproductive. Then came murmurs that their Netflix deal was hanging by a thread, under scrutiny for under-delivering while drawing massive paychecks. With each failed project, the empire they sought to build looks increasingly shaky. And now, sources claim Meghan is reassessing which assets still hold value. Security is expensive, especially private elite-level protection for a high-risk figure like Harry. If revenue is drying up, every cost is on the chopping block. And some believe Harry's safety was sacrificed in favour of image management. Publicly, that may not seem plausible, but behind closed doors, decisions like these often come down to dollars, optics, and control. In the process of reshaping the Sussex brand, has Meghan deemed Harry's protection expendable? Critics argue that what we're seeing isn't a one-off misstep, it's part of a long-standing pattern. Meghan has frequently made headlines for cutting off relationships that don't align with her vision. Estranged from her father, removed from her half-siblings, and reportedly distant even from former close friends, she has built a reputation for drawing firm, often irreversible lines. That same pattern, they say, has now extended to Harry. Since marrying Meghan, Harry has gradually distanced himself from key figures in his life. His brother William, once described as his other half, longtime friends from the military, and even palace staff who once supported him loyally. What's left is a small, tightly controlled inner circle, where Meghan's influence is widely seen as dominant. The timing of the security withdrawal, just after a legal loss during a period of financial instability and amid rumours of rebranding, has raised alarm bells. Is Harry being isolated not just emotionally, but now physically too? In the court of public opinion, this is no longer just about a marriage or a media deal. It's about the very real possibility that Prince Harry is being cut off, strategically and perhaps deliberately, from the pillars that once gave him stability. With his legal avenues closed, his private protection allegedly withdrawn, and his inner circle growing smaller by the day, Prince Harry now stands in unfamiliar territory. Once a beloved royal, a figure protected by centuries-old institutions, he is now a high-profile individual navigating life without the shields he once took for granted. And, perhaps most alarmingly, he may be doing so without full control over his own fate. At first glance, these may seem like unrelated events. But within royal and security circles, speculation is rampant that they're connected, and that someone close to him might be pulling the strings. That someone, sources claim, could be none other than Meghan Markle. The Duchess of Sussex is now facing quiet but growing scrutiny. Some royal watchers and former aides believe she may have played a behind-the-scenes role in the decision to cut off Harry's American security, either directly or by creating circumstances that made it inevitable. If true, this wouldn't just be a personal betrayal. It would represent a dangerous shift in how power and control are exercised within the Sussex household. To understand how things got here, we need to go back to the beginning. January 2020. That's when Harry and Meghan shocked the world by announcing they were stepping back from their royal duties. They painted the move as a quest for freedom, privacy, and financial independence, far away from the relentless scrutiny of the British press and the constraints of the royal institution. The destination? Sunny California. At the time, the couple's supporters applauded the decision as bold and modern, but critics warned that such a drastic departure from royal protocol would come at a steep cost, both personal and institutional. And they may have been right. By that logic, the sudden loss of his American security detail wasn't just an unfortunate side effect of financial strain or legal setbacks, it was leverage, a way to tighten control. If the RAVEC ruling was the door slamming shut on UK protection, this was the locking of the bolt in California. The timing is too sharp, critics argue. Why else would security vanish precisely when Harry became more vulnerable than ever? If the theories about Meghan's influence prove true, then Harry's isolation may not be accidental at all. It could be strategic, a means of consolidating control over the narrative, the finances, and the man himself. What was once viewed as a partnership may be morphing into something much darker, a power dynamic cloaked in the language of independence. The bigger question is what this means for the Sussex brand. Can it survive a scandal where one half appears to be calling the shots, and the other is left increasingly exposed? Or has the fairy tale they promised the world already begun to unravel? One thing is certain, The prince, who once walked proudly behind his mother's coffin, flanked by brother and nation, is now walking alone. And this time, there may be no one left guarding his flank. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more updates like this.